Hello, everyone, and today we'll be talking to Jeremy Thompson and HWD 4.5. These are the creators of Spyro 3.5 Return of the Forgotten Realms. Hello to you guys.
Hello.
Oh,
First of all, what is Spyro 3.5 Return of the Forgotten Realm?
Well, originally I was playing through HWD's randomizer, and in that he had a lot of egg movements that were randomly selected when you got your seed. And when I was playing through, it felt like the best part of that was all the new egg locations. And so we were talking a couple of days after I played it on stream about the idea of making a more permanent version that had eggs that were permanently moved, that had a lot more variability, and rather than just 2 or 3 eggs moved per level, we moved pretty much everything. And we thought it was going to be like a maybe 1 month, 1.5 month project. And as we got deeper into it, we realized how much we could do, and we really wanted to do as much as we possibly could. So essentially, the concept is move all the eggs we possibly can, but there's a lot that came packaged in with that once we got really into it.
How long did it take you to make this ROM hack?
I think the first ideas that we were throwing back and forth were like late January, early February.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's been around 5 or 6 months.
What was the process like? So, did you guys have to learn how to code or anything? Is one of you the coder, or like, do you both kind of have a hand in hand?
HWD is definitely the coder.
Yeah, like I mean, I'm still, I think, in a number of ways, kind of still relatively new to programming. I've only been doing it for a few years, and it definitely feels like during this project I was learning quite a lot. These have been kind of like a learning experience for me, not just from a sort of how Spyro works kind of standpoint, but also just how am I going to implement this in the first place. I think all of the programming was kind of like done by me, and Jeremy had more of the testing and coming up with ideas and finding like in-game placements to put eggs and that sort of thing.
Okay, then my next question is, if you could simplify it to people like me who have zero knowledge on coding or game development, how do you change where things are located in the game, like eggs?
It's a bit, I mean, it's a bit different for like everything that we move around, but the bottom line is that in Spyro, you've got these in-game objects that are called Mobies. Like that's what they called them at Insomniac when they were working on the game. And a Mobi is just, there's this position in data that has like all of these blocks of data for each Mobi in the game. And each Mobi has like 88 bytes of data which describe things like its position and what state it's in and its rotation and a few other things like that as well. And then it has like a little block of extra stuff on the end that's like more focused for a given Mobi type. So for example, eggs have a little bit at the end that says which of the dragons they contain and that sort of thing. And for moving eggs around, it was mostly a task of just finding like an egg inside the level that already exists and changing its position from one thing to another thing, which just usually just means we take the in-game data and we just overwrite what's already there and put it back into the game.
And in some cases, it was a little more complex for HWD to figure out exactly what to do, because one of our early concepts was to move eggs that were contained in sub-levels into the main level or vice versa. And there was an original issue that we had very early on where that would happen, and then HWD, when he went in to test the egg, the game just crashed as soon as he entered the level. And for me, as soon as I got into the level and went near the egg, the game crashed there because I think it was the tag wasn't complete or correct.
Yeah, there's like a in the data, there's like a pointer to that extra block of data, the Mobi tag that I mentioned. And in the data itself, it's stored as an offset from the start of like that block of data that those Mobis are contained within. But when it's put into game, the game converts that into a pointer in memory that the PlayStation can understand. And that usually just means adding a number to it. But in order to do that, it needs to know what parts of memory it's supposed to be adding those numbers to. And because we'd added something in without changing the list of positions that we're supposed to like add that number to, it wasn't updating that pointer. And so that pointer was going to somewhere that wasn't a position in the PlayStation's memory, and that was just causing like instant crashes.
Yeah. Because you have such a big knowledge on this, have you done any other projects similar to this?
A few different things. Like most of them are kind of dead in the water or like a work in progress, but I think the randomize was kind of the big one for me. It worked really quite similarly to this. Like even the the patcher tool that we made for this is built off of the code that I did for the randomizer, and the randomizer had like a similar thing where it'd like go over each of the levels and move the placed eggs around into new positions. But it was a little bit simpler in that the randomizer could only really like move eggs that already existed in a level, whereas for this thing we've been able to add new eggs in. For example, if an NPC would normally give you an egg, we just added like an egg into the level instead, which is something the randomizer wouldn't have done.
Oh. You did say about how you did have some interesting challenges about eggs crashing the game. Were there any other challenges you came across while working on this project?
Yeah,
So many. So many.
constantly. Some of the ones that we encountered were in Desert Ruins. We wanted to remove the Terra interaction. There's a cutscene where she breaks open the tomb, and in doing that, we introduced a crash by deleting Terra, where when the cutscene was activated, the game just crashed. And so that one was something that we had to correct. There was an issue in the Jack and the Beanstalk challenge where we tried to delete Jack from the challenge, but HWD realized that there are actually, was it 4 instances of Jack and 3 that you could see a use for?
Yeah.
So there were 4 instances of Jack. So we deleted Jack, and then he wasn't where you meet him. But when you touch the platform, there's a Jack there. Touch the second platform, there's another Jack there. And just for good measure, there's a 4th Jack that we don't know what it does. So we had to delete all 4 of those. And then pretty much like at every step of the way, there was some issue or troubleshooting or bug fixing that had to be done while HWD honed in exactly how he was going to implement the revisions that we were working on.
So, apart from all of those problems, what did you enjoy most about making this ROM hack?
I think it was mostly just seeing those ideas like come to life, particularly when we were working on the texture hacking, because I didn't realize the extent to how many layers there are to that. And so implementing that ended up being like a really iterative process where I've got some like screenshots somewhere of like my first attempt at doing this. I think there was one point where it would like instantly crash the game. I can't remember why, but if you tried it on like certain emulators, it would just it would let you in, but the graphics were completely horrible and all over the place. And then like the next stage, it had like I clearly changed the textures, but they looked really horrible and messy, and I had to just like keep finding extra parts in memory which I needed to update to make the textures work. And I remember when I first got to the point where it was like done and I had like a working level, it was such a massive relief, and it was really nice seeing like Sheila's Alp and Bamboo Terrace with the new texture sets that we had tried implementing. So yeah, I think it was just, you know, seeing those ideas actually become real.
And I think for me, I've been speedrunning the game for 9.5 years at this point, and I guess about 9 years. And in those 9 years, obviously, I've been to a lot of spots that are really interesting, and I've seen a lot of like niche tricks that aren't very well known or aren't useful at all, and aren't incentivized by the game at all because they're not useful in a speedrun. And that's like the main way people play Spyro, in a glitchy way where they try to find these spots, is by speedrunning. So if it's not fast, it's not done. And so this ROM hack, the concept was to keep the level architecture mostly the same. We changed 2 things, I think, and to put eggs in spots to incentivize the player using niche mechanics, niche techniques, niche glitches, and finding spots that they haven't found before. And so it really is an encyclopedia of interesting places you can go that normally you would not be incentivized to go, and most people hadn't gone. And so when all those level concepts came together and we were able to place the eggs where we wanted to place them, it felt so amazing to play through it. And even more so when we finally released the secret and people were playing through it this last week. It's been a blast to watch people find those spots.
And my last question is, how does it feel to see so many people playing your game and even having a lot of non-speedrunners joining and learning some really hard strats on like where those eggs are, like you just said?
Yeah, it feels incredible. Like it's really gratifying because it was almost a total secret for the entire development. We brought Crystal Fisher in to help us with texture hacks a couple of months ago. And then we had, I think Altro probably knew a decent amount about it. And then we had Composer and Shemp and Pepper, who came in about maybe 2.5 weeks ago to do voice acting for us. And so, and Composer, in his case, it was making the unique track for Frozen Altars. Yeah, so it's been really gratifying to see the reaction to it and how many people are downloading it. And it's been extremely gratifying to see people who don't speedrun the game come into the Spyro Discord and talk about the ROM hack and use our tutorial Zoes that we put in to learn speedrun techniques and to get interested in the idea of glitching to get to interesting spots and maybe speedrunning in the future. It's really cool.
There's been so many people. Like it's so overwhelming. I never really expected that many people to be playing and talking and, you know, coming up with ideas for it. Like even when we released the trailer, before people were even able to play the game, they were already coming up with ideas of how to get certain eggs and like routes they would take through some of the levels.
Yeah.
It's amazing. It really is.
Well, thank you so much, both of you, for making this game. I myself have had a great time, and I'm sure many others have had a great time playing this game. Thank you, Jeremy, and thank you, HWD.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
If you guys are interested in having a go at this game, I have left the most recent version of the ROM hack in the description. If you think that this game would be too hard for you, there is also an exploration build that lowers the egg requirements for portals and makes the end of level eggs easier to obtain. Also, I have added the bounties board as there are rewards for speedrunning this game. And if you are not a speedrunner, there is a Taz competition and a best compatible texture hack. If you need any help, there is a channel dedicated to Spyro 3.5 in the Spyro speedrunning Discord. Thanks for listening, and I will see you in the next one.